So, just take a second here. And I think that we are live, even though we're doing this real quick. So, we are. It just takes a few seconds too, so don't mind. I don't know why it's. But let me see here really quick. So if anybody's on here listening, we are just about to start. We're waiting for some people to get into chat, which is pretty amazing. And we are going to go here tonight with Jeff. And right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to SNX Radio. Today, I'm doing a collab with Jeff, and he has actually been on the show before. So we did a deep dive, and he's an experiencer, a researcher, like public speaker. I mean, he's got a lot going on, and I would just, without further ado, like Jeff to kind of give his own introduction since we've done this before. And he's got an amazing book that we're going to go into, and so much more. So welcome again, Jeff. I'm so glad that you're able to make it and come on for the show. So I'll let you kind of, since you've been here already, you can kind of, feel more comfortable, kind of tell the people about you so they can get to know you.
Sounds good. My name is Jeff Selver, and I am currently I work in logistics, and I keep that pretty close what that is. But I've had a background, I have an MBA, so I had a background in sales and finance, and by the age of 41, so now it was 2019, memories of alien contact surfaced, and it was combined with having orbs and objects in my vicinity, sorry. And I was having sightings of UFOs basically, and it kind of got all paired up and unraveled in a certain way. And what unraveled was a history that I wasn't aware of, where aliens were basically, I was having alien contact without my knowing. Now, I did have some weird events happen when I was a teenager, and I've been very public about all this now for several years. And the gist of the story is that I made an agreement with gray aliens to discover my soul, and there was some type of an experiment on their behalf, and I agreed to it consciously and willingly. And then they were obscuring the memories, and all that resulted was a weird consciousness event. That's how I frame it. And with elements that don't replicate themselves in any other type of religious books or spiritual traditions. And some things were very unique, like the light of my cells feeling like they had the DNA of my cells, or the body of my cells' bodies, I guess the cellular structure of my body is that's the best way to frame that. Felt like it had light shining through it. and I would only find a description like that with experiencers. And though there were other elements to the effects of what was going on, I never knew what was really happening to me, and it got paired with a message to leave my life, to abandon society, actually, and to kind of like be detached, to remove yourself from all things that you're attached to, and
Right.
and I didn't think I was going to do that, and then the result was I listened to those feelings, and when I did, I was seeing, orbs and objects in the sky while I was traveling. And that's the gist of it. I didn't know I was having alien contact. And then, this was all 1997, 1998, up to the year 2000. And then in the year 2000, I met my to-be spouse, and she took me back to Toronto, and I got grounded, and that was the end of it. All the objects and orbs I'd seen had stopped, they just stopped being around. And I didn't really understand the connection, and then that was it. Now, at that
What
point,
year was that in?
that was 2000, year 2000.
Year
And
2000.
then, yeah, and then by 2016, I was having discordance, and I was questioning what had happened to me. I didn't really understand the gist of it. And then, yeah, it was 2019, 3 years later. There was kind of a culmination from 2016 to 2019 of paranormal activity that was new to me. That didn't normally happen to me. And yeah, I had a whole trajectory that led me down to eventually to start thinking about UFOs and aliens. And when I did, the objects I'd seen traveling came back, and that was the kind of gist of it. And it's a bit of a story. It's all laid out in my book, how all the contact events, and then how I awoke to knowing I had alien contact. All of it is laid out in the book, kind of with precision. But the gist of it is, yeah, 2019, and then July 1st, yeah, 2019 was when I went to a location. I had an alien contact event because there was a screen memory there, and I was investigating the screen memory, and I felt clearly that something had happened there that was otherworldly, and that was the beginning of it all unraveling. Yeah.
That's amazing. So I hear that quite frequently, and I've actually experienced it myself. Where I was my life, and as soon as I encountered that UFO, it was like
Right.
everything
Yeah.
changed. I
Everything
mean,
changes. Yeah.
oh yeah, you go through, and I remember like the MUFON investigator. I call him MUFON Dave, but it's Dave Creeder, and he's like, "Well, did the veil lift? Do you think the veil?" And I said, "I don't think that's quite it, but
Yeah.
it's like a
Right.
process, It's just not like
Right.
automatic, like there you go.
Yeah. It's
It's
like
a
the
process."
Matrix. Yeah. I mean, it can be like the Matrix, but it's not. Yeah. It's not a. Oh my God! Now I see all things. Oh no. Yeah, it's a
Right,
process,
right.
and it's a human evolution is what it is. And I think every time they're interacting with us, they're instigating an evolution, and an evolution is an evolution. It takes time. Yeah,
Right.
100%. And I think I know this from John Mack's books, where you know the whole point seems to be that contactees live a life after their contact, trying to understand how to integrate it, and that's an evolution. We're trying to
Oh,
learn
absolutely.
how to make it a part of us. What does it mean to me that this happened to me? Yeah, all of that is a part of it, and it takes time, and yeah, the aliens gave me quite a bit, and I never knew how to contain it and nor understand it, and it's in part how I ended up rejecting it and helping with the sealing of memories, because I didn't, it was too big for me. The entire
Oh,
experiment
yeah.
was too big for me. Everything was too big for me, and when I mean too big, I mean where consciousness goes, I don't think humans' brains can contain it, and so them giving us a glimpse of it is shocking to a human. Yeah, so it's much more than I agree with that totally. It's very
So was
great.
okay, so when you saw them, was it like in our space, in our time that you made this agreement, or were you in their space, in their time?
Yeah, I
Like,
love the way you frame that. So I was in their space, yes,
okay.
and I'm convinced it's outside time, and I
Oh,
think
yeah.
yeah, I have a pretty good and this is just too much still, even though we've got people coming out and saying things, we don't have anybody quite saying this just yet, and I'm like 100% convinced it was outside time, as in frozen time, as in time has stopped, and now the aliens with their crafts are creating linear time in time. Sorry, linear time and frozen time. So they're still, I guess, kind of creating time within time, and that is what I'm convinced happened to me. Not all of them. I think the aliens played off of that realm or that dimensional space with regular time. And I did have
Right.
some contact events that appeared to be in normal time, and then they were able to obscure the memory still. But that agreement was formed in the first contact event in 1993, and it was not. It was. I'm pretty convinced it was outside time when that happened. Yeah.
Have you ever had experience? This happened to me once when I was transitioning back. I remember looking at the clock, and there's like three different, like the clock, the microwave, and I believe like the
Right.
oven or whatever. They were like all, and I saw them flash like three times, and then instantly it was like 40 minutes. It was gone. But when
Right.
I was transitioning back, there, and I remember consciously, like, there was a void. Like there was a clear void of like absolutely nothing. And I never forget that. Like it was just like this empty space that I was waiting in. But I agree with you too. I don't think that they're the time, or if anything, I just always wonder if it's not just a way of confirmation and confirming, like, okay, well, here is this, because that seems to be like a kind of a lot of what happens too. It's like I've had drawings or I've had things, and then it's like all of a sudden it'll end up as a marking on my leg, or just something
Right.
really bizarre will come out of it. But I always
Right.
just, I think, is this just enough so I'll stop and I'll pay attention,
Yeah.
or that this is,
Yeah.
because it's hard to digest. You just said it all right there. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
where do you begin? So
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
no, go ahead. Yeah. So you basically, I have my master's in mental health therapy. So I abandoned all mine too. And people are like, "Oh, you went through all this, so you were,
Yeah.
doing your thing, had on your career was going, and then this interjected, and it took you basically
Yeah.
like stripped you kind of all your human,
Everything.
like
Yeah. Yeah. Ego
everything.
death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Ego death. And so I
Wow.
was a musician actually. At that time, I was a musician, and I thought that that's what my career was going to be. And yeah, it was. It's really wacky. Yeah, it's everything. It was the identity of even being, a kid to my parents. I had a girlfriend, no longer. I had all the groups of friends, no more. And even the music equipment, get rid of that too. And
Really?
so I was, it was really clearly ego death, and it was it's voluntary, but same time it's really hard when I think you don't like I didn't have anybody else with me and I didn't
Mm-hmm.
know how to frame it. So I think that was like in part the trauma, the loneliness of it. So you kind of then when you're by yourself and in your own thoughts, even though I
Yeah.
committed to doing it, I was still left with like, oh my God, what am I doing? And oh my God, there's this life I just left. And I think maybe for months I was like paying for that life actually. So it was a really weird thing. I committed to it and then the trauma just rolls out because you are committing to it in action and then your mind is still in a space about it. But I was traveling for
Yeah.
2.5 years, and by the first year I was really comfortable with it, and the second I was so comfortable I was taking greater risks. I was hitchhiking and then didn't know where I was going to stay, and I'd sleep on the mountainside, and I was like, it just kind of kept rolling how much more comfortable I got with it, and then I never looked back. Yeah, and it's pretty wild.
That's amazing, though. I mean, it is, but it doesn't, like, going through that. I mean, that
Yeah,
takes
yeah.
a lot of courage. It takes a lot of
It's
faith.
nuts.
It takes a
Yeah,
lot of, it's just
yeah,
like, you're
yeah,
facing all these different things. And then not to mention, I said, coming out and telling people like your story is not easy in itself. I
yeah.
remember when I was first confronted with it, but it got to the point I was like, why am I here? And they said I was here for communication. So I
Right.
thought,
You
well, if
said
I
that.
just tell everybody I know, everybody around, maybe I can just do my part and then, be done with it. So it's so
Right.
funny
A
because
negotiation. Yeah.
yeah, no, that's not the way it works. That is
No,
not the way it
that's
works.
hilarious. That's not unsimilar to myself, where I tried negotiating with it. Okay, how about we don't do this life, and I do it in another life, and I hang out with his girlfriend and keep playing music and keep doing this, and no, the negotiation doesn't work at all. No, it's
No,
pretty
no,
funny.
it doesn't. And I said, and when you ask for answers, it's not like you get these lengthy, to me, they communicate in like pictures or they communicate in
Yeah,
words. And it's like,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
can you
Your
give me just
brain,
a
yeah,
little
exactly.
more here?
Yeah, your brain needs the motherly. Oh well, this is the reason you're doing this. Doesn't this make sense? Because you need this, you need this, and no, your brain, you don't get that at all from these entities. You'll get, and it's interesting that that's how it's communicated. Yeah, you'll get a response in almost a very spiritual way. It could be from them directly in a contact event, and it would only be imagery and telepathy and not really any true consoling of your feelings or thoughts. And then as a human, it's really interesting because you have to be left with that, and you have to find a
Right.
way to say, okay, I got the answer. And otherwise you could play a full human victim mind and say, well, no, I need it to be, it's always left up to us to how we want to handle their information too. And that's the most fascinating game. I think I'm convinced there's a little bit of picking and choosing about how they choose humans, because how we handle information that they give us. Because you
Yeah.
heard that, but you still went down the road and committed to it. And that's the same with me, where I heard it and I went down the road and committed to it. But there's many people who, they would ditch this because it's not said straight, or it's very confusing. What are you doing to me? And yeah,
Yeah, oh
yeah,
yeah. A lot of people had, issues with that. Like, am I being? Some people don't have a positive experience with it. I, on the other hand,
yeah,
did have a lot of, because it definitely is a trade off. I traded off a lot of things. I was having a lot of medical issues
yes,
when I first encountered mine, and I tell you, my hand, I had surgery in my neck, and it was debilitating. And they said, you won't get any better. And I remember just sitting there thinking, man, before, I have a small child. How am I going to do this? I've lost my
mhm,
strength on my right side, and then it wasn't until the first one I saw was July 2017. December
mhm,
was in another one, 2017. But by 2018, February is when I believe that the abduction part started. And it was like,
huh,
I was 50% better just after the first. Like, I was like,
wow,
I can feel my hand. My precision was just, my balance
wow,
was there. And I was like, and then it was
yeah,
probably, I would say, within 6 weeks time that I was better than what I had
wow,
even started. Yeah. And
wow,
they said that this is like going out post surgery, I think like 3 years, and it was fusion. So they're like, that curve, that healing curve is done. If you
right,
heal a little bit more, then you're lucky. And I thought, you can't leave me like this, is what I was thinking. You can't leave
right,
me like this. But
yeah,
it was that. And I do. So out of anything, I guess I explained to people, I for one didn't, like, have any of my biology. I don't think that I have any children out there that I don't know of, or,
right,
anything like that. It was that for me. There was
right.
a second wave of us, I was told, that came through. So why don't you go? And I've been in contact, like, there's 3 different that I remember seeing. What type, I guess I don't know how to even to word that, but who did you come in contact with from
Yeah, the types
ET?
of
Like,
entities I
was it?
interacted with.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So the majority of my contact is with the species that we know as gray aliens. And
Were they the tall or the shorts?
short. Okay.
Okay.
So the main entity that I end up dealing with is I call her the Elder, and she is a short, 4 foot tall gray alien. And she had a strange elongated cone, and she had down angled eyes, and she kind of had a regal essence to her. Um, then everything happens around her. So I see tall
I've
gray
noticed that.
aliens.
Okay. Yeah.
What's that? Sorry, go ahead.
I've noticed that also. The mama of the, that's what I,
Yeah, it's a theme. Even with Jake Barber, the whistleblower just came out. I thought that was really fascinating too. Like Chris Bledsoe is the mother, and so is the
Oh
Jake
yeah,
Barber talked
Chris.
about,
So, oh yeah,
yeah,
He's
the
got a really
mother.
fast.
It's a really, yeah, it's a very, well, I'm pretty convinced that they're a matriarchal society, and so maybe that's kind of interestingly connected. I don't really know. And yeah, it's fascinating how that's what's the mother is kind of keeps being a very consistent theme here. And
Yeah.
yeah, and so yeah, so this 4 foot tall entity was the mother. She was the elder, and then there were these tall gray aliens, and I intermittently interacted with, largely as medical beings. So if there's medical procedures, these tall ones, and occasionally when something had to happen outside in nature, they were tall ones. So it's as if their body. I now kind of starting to put together that maybe their body structures can handle our environments better. I don't know. So, and then on top of them, I'll interact kind of later my contact events with the species that we identify as the mantis. Though I don't, my entity didn't look like a mantis bug. He was
Mm-hmm.
some type of leader of the entire program, and he had big eyes on the side of his head, and he was very wild looking. And then from there, uh, depending on the environments I went to, there would be humanoids in the environments. So kind of a clear crossover that these entity gray alien type species, you know, very easily interact with humanoid type species. And I never really learn the true identity of some of these humanoids. One of them appears to live on Venus, and one of them, and then there's several others I'll interact with. One of them is the species that I'm convinced is the Men in Black. Whatever that thing is, I don't know what that is. The Man in Black thing, because it's not a human. I know there's a human Man in Black. I know there's a CIA thing that goes on here, but aside from that, there are definitely paranormal Men in Black type scenarios, and without a doubt, those are not from here. And so I interacted with something like that, and then later on in my contact events, it appears to be this thing that identifies itself as a Pleiadian, and it's a tall humanoid. And all of these were intermittent interactions that were within a contact event associated with the gray aliens. So they were kind of I was always being taken, or they were taking me up the grays, and then I would be in environments, bases, and crafts that had other entities doing things, and then sometimes I would interact with them. So yeah, that's the gist of it. Yeah.
That's awesome. So when you say
Daniel,
you build a relationship, do you feel like that? I know a lot of people, and even myself, like when contact kind of slows down, it seems like there's a period with everybody you go through, and it's like just so consistent. It's just like insane, like it's just continuous. And then when that kind of drops off, I don't know, it's like you kind of like, where'd you go? There's a relationship that you build with it. That sounds, people are like,
that's why the
no.
sightings, you got it.
Yeah.
So I presently have the sightings, and it is like, people can't get this. It's joy.
It is.
Like when I see them come back, there's a
I know. I'm like,
I think this part, I know. I'm like, so I have a video out now. I'm trying to figure out how to release it, but it's so I caught the UFO. So I'm filming like this. So the it's from like a selfie perspective. So I'm looking at the craft. I'm saying that right there is a UFO, and then there's sparkles going on in the atmosphere. Like there's as if they're able to, I've seen wild things, and I'm in this state of excitement about it all. And it's kind of embarrassing for me. I'm like, oh my God, it's my friend. Hi, I love that being. And I'm like really joyful, excited. And, I think this disturbs people, because these are still aliens. We don't understand them. We think they're deceiving people, and I love this stuff. I love these entities. And and so you're right. There's a sense of like, where'd you go? I know what you mean by that.
I know.
There's been several dips, and I wonder what made her leave. I definitely find it fascinating that they also leave, because it's very interesting that they're here and then they go somewhere and then they don't show up. But pretty typically, for whatever reason, I always link it back to, because I'm a public person talking about the stuff. The longest she's been gone is like 2 months. And I was at the point of like, where'd you go? And then she just showed up again. And so she does leave, and then she comes back, and she's been pretty consistent to show me that, don't worry, like, I'll come back. Like, stop worrying.
Right.
Almost like that. Like, don't worry, I'll come back. Stop it. And
well, it is true though. Yeah. I remember asking Mufan, I was like, am I gonna, after the first one, I said, will I get a chance to see another one? And he's like, yeah, I think so. And I was just like, kind of content, but there had been some strange things that had happened in between. And I was just like out there every night looking for probably, I did this religiously in the same spot. So I knew every light, I knew every tree, I knew every time a neighbor changed their light. Like for 7 years, I was out there night after night at the same time. And it was just like, it was so comforting. And I'd get so excited too. I had like a neighborhood watch. I'd go out. My neighbor's like, I thought you were going to fly off the balcony, because I get so loud.
Always out there.
I was like, wow, it's like so exciting. And I'm like, oh, you don't understand. This is so crazy. But the first one I saw, it was in the middle of nowhere. It was like between Cascade and Bernard, Iowa. And it was in this old cemetery. And I just remember that we were watching it. It looked like a controlled like contrail, like going through. And I was like, that's really weird color. And this is kind of before we knew a lot about LED lights, you know, put a real name on them. It was before everybody had strips of them all over their rooms, things like that. But I watched it and my neighbor was with, and I didn't have my phone for whatever reason. I had my camera because I was taking paranormal pictures. And
Right,
that
nice.
came, Mufon measured it to be 1 mile away, and that came, it slowly crept over, and I was like, oh boy, what am I gonna do? You know, so I was
Interesting.
like, call
Yeah.
my brother. I called my brother because he had seen in the area, him and my son had saw one 2 weeks prior, just in the same area. I said, Eric, I don't know what to do. It's slowly coming over and it's huge. And I, just like, and he's like, oh, I'd stay there. I'd stay there and watch it. The hell he would have. He'd been out of there in like seconds. But I was like,
Right.
okay. So I
Right.
just drop everything and I'm bracing myself, just watching it. And it made it to about 30 feet away. And the only thing that I felt comfortable with is there's these 2 trees, Jeff, and like it couldn't just jump over the trees. I mean, it is obviously capable of whatever, but you get locked into them. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
you move, they anticipate it and you anticipate them. And
Right. Right.
and yeah, so the
Yes.
neighbor's like screaming, "Ah!" And so I was like, I broke like where I was looking at it, and then it was over on the other side, and I was like, "Whoa!" And then we both saw it shoot off, and then it went into like 7 different, like, I call light spheres. I call them. I have little names for them. Like, I call the night
Yeah.
creeper. He's like the big one that comes in at night. It's like, I mean, how strange does that sound? But it's so true. It's
But
like,
it interacts with us in this way though. Like there's nothing else to do but name it our own way. And yeah, it interacts with our little sphere of our world, of our personal psyche. And so it doesn't surprise me that, yeah, this, of course. And they would,
oh
and the
yeah.
funny part is that they are the ones to respond. Like everyone wants
Mhm.
this to be objective. I think that's the whole problem here. The scientific community, the nuts and bolts, they want it to be objective, but the problem is the because it's consciousness driven, it's
Yeah.
actually subjective. So
I
if
I was
you,
just gonna say that, yeah.
yeah, if you actually identify it with, these little names, they'll play off of it. That's the craziest part about it all. They'll be, oh, I'm doing it this way for you today, and they're the ones to use your frame of reference, and then they'll work with it. So
Oh,
it's very interesting. I find this very fascinating,
oh,
and
yeah.
it's when we get to a space where your Jesus is my Buddha, is your Krishna, is my Yahweh. We're all gonna be able to recognizing the brain has a natural capacity to do this. The entities are above it,
Absolutely.
and they've been the angels and they've been everything, I think, throughout human history, and this is them being that, and whatever we want to call them. And I think it's because they're coming from a realm of beyond us, but when they transform into this thing, whatever this alien space this thing is, they're still, my contact events have lines of, they called it abductions. They said, when we abduct people. And it's very interesting because I wasn't considering myself to have, well, yeah, it was kind of like abductions, but I was a contactee. I had a relationship, but they
Yes.
still didn't. We don't have words for these things, so they're the ones who called it abductions. They used our
Isn't that
wording, our phrasing.
crazy?
Yeah, they didn't
Yeah.
say. Yeah, they didn't say things like, don't call it abductions. They're not. They have no emotions about it, right? They're just using our frame of reference of it. So, oh, you call it abductions, and they're saying these things like these abductions that we do. It's very interesting,
Right.
and yeah,
I had a hard time saying that. I really did. When you said that, that's why I always say it. Like,
yeah,
I'm an experiencer. He
yeah.
said
I say
contactee.
contactee. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And then I
Yeah,
said, like, I can't say, and I've heard, and I've had some people that have come on that have a very negative viewpoint of it as
yeah,
an abduction. Like, I was
yeah,
taken against my will too, but I've had medical procedures in our local doctor's office that were invasive too, that
right.
needed to maybe be done. So
Yeah,
the trust that I had given them, it was
yeah,
just the feeling, the familiarity. Like, did they ever take
beautiful.
you anywhere else, like, and show you different things? Like, I've been
Yes,
like to a couple different places with, different ones. So can you kind of
yeah,
talk about that? I find that so fascinating.
yeah. So I got shown a city on Venus, and so it was okay. They did this experiment with me. A lot of it was within crafts. I'd love to get to this question, but yeah, I'll answer this. What we're talking
Yeah,
about
I
here.
just pinned it there for
That's
whenever
good.
you're ready.
That's a
Yeah.
good one. So they did this experiment with me, and all the first 7 contact events before the experiment they were all within a craft. So it was all localized within a craft, and it was practically just me and the elder in most cases.
Okay.
And then after the experiment was done, it's like, yeah, the trust, I guess, kind of got raised, maybe even on their behalf, that, you know, he'll follow through. So yeah, that point, I started seeing bases. So right away, I was in a base in space that's hovering around the low Earth orbit, and I can only assume it's phased or invisible to our regular technology. I was taken to a
Okay.
city on Venus. So I guess this is in like some kind of either astral dimension or phased dimension. I don't really have the answers to it. And then throughout while traveling, I'm unaware of it as the person living out his normal life. But when the contact events are happening, in most cases, I'm going somewhere. Not all the time. But some of the crafts now are different. When I got shown the hybrids, I was shown inside of like a warehouse type craft, like a massive craft that's just sitting invisibly in our atmosphere. And then went to an undersea base, go to I think that's it. And then the majority of them otherwise were inside crafts, and some of them big, some of them small. But so they do show me things, and it's all very fascinating. They're very agreement focused too, so exchange focused. You know, you did this
Mm-hmm.
for us, we'll do this for you,
It's
and
reciprocal. Oh yeah.
yeah, reciprocal. Yeah, that happened a lot. So in the cases when they were taking biology from me, as uncomfortable as that was, and that is still to talk about,
Yes. Oh
in the
yes.
very contact event, then they would give me information about what's going on and why they were even involving themselves with humans, and that's when the hybrid information started getting told to me, and so it is pretty big picture, this stuff, and they didn't do it until after the experiment, and there was kind of a greater level of maybe, trust and yeah, just an interest on their behalf to do that to me, and I really appreciate. I loved it because now it's the core of what makes up me talking presently, is that they gave me that information.
Right. And they gave it to you for a reaon. Well, so
Yeah,
what do you
and just
say when people say to you, they're like, Jeff, why you? Because I get this too. I mean, my
yeah,
my answer is like, why do you think I'm doing what I'm doing? You know, why me? I have no clue. Why you?
yeah.
What do you think is like your
Um,
calling? Like,
yeah, they showed it to me, and
okay,
I when I say these words, for most humans, these are just words. But I saw my higher self make an agreement with gray aliens in the afterlife. Now, when I say that, because no one else knows what those who don't know what the experience of their higher self is, they
right.
assume a gray alien put that information in my head, and now I'm just a little person who believes things that was made up in his head by a gray alien, and now that's my motivation. And I'm always like, you don't know what you don't know what the experience of the higher self is. You don't know how I verify that information, because the higher self is
Right.
my intuitive self, and that
Mm-hmm.
was me. I witnessed what I know to have been me, it was part of the experiment. It's how they used the experiment. Was I witnessed my higher self. So it's unequivocal. What happened is that the entities are in this afterlife realm, and that agreement was formed and made there. And then that answers not just why they involved themselves with my life, but the fact that they changed my life and they shaped
Yeah.
it, and that's undeniable. Like, they shaped my life. They shaped my life from 20 years old onwards, and even though they'd shaped it before, the expression of it didn't happen until 20 years old. And so I'm a product of them. That's and okay, now why even there? You'd even go even further. Well, why'd they choose your higher self? Like, what's going on here? And I have a bit of grander understanding about these things as time goes on. And I'm actually convinced that the species we might identify as the gray aliens have multiple roles with humanity, and one of them being maybe kind of like facilitators or workers in the afterlife. And
Oh,
something
interesting.
along the lines of, the reality creators, the mantis is involved here, the birth and death
Mm-hmm.
life cycle, the purpose of humans being in a birth and death life cycle. And then they're choosing spirits throughout history. And they're saying, hey, and they're actually wanting humans to evolve at a very, there's something grander about as I even say these words, when people don't have any of the grounding of spirituality, and they assume that things can be nefarious even in the other dimensions,
Right.
then they will, the words I'm saying for them, proof prison planet is real, right? And
Yeah. Oh,
I
yeah.
think I think the thing I want to always come back to is the woo is real. But what is woo? We say, okay, woo. Sorry, for those who don't know, we have this internet term I think now is being tossed around, which is woo.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
typically
I think it
means
came from Ireland, like the woo
okay,
train. Yeah.
the
They're all
woo.
about
Okay,
the woo. Yeah.
oh,
I love
that's a
it.
good one. I haven't heard that. That's a good, explanation for its history. But people think like psychic abilities and past life awareness is woo, and the reality is that's not woo. That's physics. That's the physics of consciousness. What's woo is that the universe is positively inclined for evolution, and so it has a natural tendency that will eventually lead to love and unity, the highest experiences that humans can have. And by the way, you don't believe in love and unity, look at near-death experience research, because it's proving it to be real. And then that's what all the Vedas and all the Advaita Vedanta and the Buddhists and the Jesus is, that this is starting to make the entire picture make sense, that there actually is a natural, the natural inclination for positivity of the universe is real. And so when you now hear about aliens interacting with humans in a afterlife, this is the reality, is that they're not here controllers. They're not here to create devils and create evil demons. They're here to help you. I think they're working on the back end, and they slowly evolve humanity. And so I think my higher self in previous past lives actually made agreements with these entities, and I'm actually, and just was in humanity doing things, and helped with empires, and helped, and was on the side, wasn't like main historical figures, was on the side of things. And I have some of my own evidence I'm going to go public with in the future about that, but I'm
Oh,
convinced
amazing.
that's it, that they're actually and then they're then at this period of history, they're again looking for spirits to help with them in these processes. And I'm convinced all of us, that's why you feel that joy with them. That's why you feel that connection with them, is that we have some type of an agreement in the afterlife or before we're born, that's linking us back up to that realm with where we made that connection. And then they're in that level as it is. So there's this whole experience that comes out of it. And so that's my general picture, that my higher self, there's a thing going on here about the birth and death life cycle, and the entities,
Mm-hmm.
are asking for recruits in the afterlife. And then also my own ethereal body, the me who's been birth and deathing, has some kind of, I have some spiritual history in my past lives.
Okay.
And I think they saw all that. I think that's the entire thing. They saw it all and said, hey, we could use that guy, and this would be really perfect because this is his trajectory. So when we interject, it will help us, and then it will also help him. And I think that's the whole entire picture. So it's pretty
So
big.
is it run in your family? Is any other family member have had experiences or that you know of? A lot of times they weren't
My
talked about.
Yeah, my aunt and my uncle had a close encounter with a UFO
Okay.
in Winnipeg, on Winnipeg, Manitoba, and that was back in the 60s. And
Oh,
it was only a
wow.
couple of years before what would be called red. Oh, I forgot the name. That it's Red Charlie. That's what it was. The newspapers termed it Red Charlie. It was a red glowing object that was repeatedly seen. Now, was it one or multiple? I don't know. But my own family members had a close encounter with it, and I went and interviewed them when my memories came out, and I couldn't get any confirmation that they'd actually had any type of contact, any type of abduction,
Mm-hmm.
or any type of contact. But they had a close encounter. That was interesting, and that was part of my history, my family history, that had happened. And we would talk about it in family get-togethers. And other than that, my mom couldn't confirm anything either. She didn't have my own, like, she had psychic abilities, and I've started
Mm-hmm.
in my own research with all this. I tend to find when a contactees will typically have parents who had psychic abilities, and that's the case with my mom. Was able to see the death aura, and she hated it. So this thing,
Oh.
she could see when people were going to die, or when death
Mm-hmm.
was in the sphere, like someone close to them was going to die, and she hated it. Right? She's just a person living out her life, and she would be able to see these things,
Yes.
and she didn't
I have
want.
the death dream. Yeah,
Interesting.
it's hard because I know within a month's time. I never know exactly who they are. I just know how
Yeah.
close they feel to me. And so it's sometimes, yeah, for her to carry that, oh wow, I bet that weighed heavy on her.
Yeah. 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 So that's the gist of it. Like there was none of this stuff was in my sphere. None of it was in my history. And except for in books that I picked up as a kid, and then otherwise my aunt, my uncle actually having the close encounter.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. Like I think it successfully hid itself from me, so I didn't even know when all this kind of unraveled. Even the experiment that had happened, had there been anything, my parents having alien contact or talking about it in those ways, maybe I would have made the connection that this was related to alien contact. And I think the aliens wanted that to not be thought of in that way.
Oh,
So
yeah, okay. That's interesting,
yeah, so
yeah.
I think there's like a purposeful. They were involved in my family, but very minimally and on the side. So the memories were obscured, and then they don't even know about it. So yeah,
Oh,
that's
then
my
that's so true. Like, I mean, you get slivers, and until like I just remember asking for the tour. I was like, I want the tour, bring me. It's like I would chase these things around. I wanted so badly, so I consented to it. I always say
right,
that. It wasn't like they just came and grabbed. I wanted up there too. Okay, as
right,
crazy
right,
as that sounds, like I wanted up there. But it seemed my grandmother. She saw the first UFO, and it kind of skipped a generation where my parents, not so much, but I was very close to my grandmother, and she was
right.
RH negative.
Oh,
My parents
interesting.
are both O negative, but I'm AB negative. Now
Hmm.
figure that one out, which is like I've gone dove really deep into it to try and figure this out because I was so
Yeah.
jaundiced as a child because I had
Hmm.
no compatibility of blood type with either one of my parents. So
Interesting.
I was, yeah, and then I there's like just a few other things that I think like that they pulled us in on, like the gifted and talented programs and things like that
Right.
I was recruited for as a child in Montessori preschool and all that, where I start to see now maybe how it was set up, but I had no clue back then. But so did
Yeah.
you, a lot of times, along with contact, I know, like I was just on a show last night with Dolly Saffron, and she's just amazing. If you've
Right.
not looked into her contact experience, she really is. And she always talked to she's got the medium type channeling abilities also. So do
Right.
you
Right.
think that you share, well, obviously, okay, so if you're able to get telepathic messages, you're a traveler, I heard you say. Um, do you
Do
think
you mean
that any
astral
of,
travelers when you say that? Astral traveler?
yeah, or is that what you were referring to? Like, are
Oh
you
no,
able
I meant
to
traveling
travel
as
out?
in certain it was you must when I was
Oh,
traveling with the
okay.
entities, literally backpacking. Yeah,
Yeah,
backpack.
well, I kind of think that if you're able to, well, yeah, I look at it one or two ways. Like sometimes we can't get ourselves out. I do it. Preston Dennett taught me to do it just a little bit differently because
Nice.
I couldn't do it. But when I remember somebody's voice, I stay calm. I have
Yeah.
to stay calm. So this is the biggest thing because I'd get halfway out and I'd be like, yeah, and then right back
Right.
in I go. But
Right. Right.
in that, just remembering what somebody's voice and what they look like, and it was like instantaneously I was there.
Oh yeah. 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 Yeah.
So stuff like that. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
too, like you always get like your little superpowers. That's what I call them, the
Yeah.
best way to.
Yeah.
So what do you think
Yeah.
some of those things are that like in
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was
It's a
difficult
weird
to
thing,
trade off?
Yeah, it's funny because I grew up with a guru, and he doesn't talk like that, right? He doesn't go around, and it's very interesting because the whole UFO community is filled with people who are actually gaining these awarenesses and these abilities.
Mhm.
So I haven't really articulated some of the stuff I was able to do, but and it's just because I got trained that way.
Mhm.
Now the first and foremost is I have this crazy excessive past life awareness. And so I'm about to go public with a past life that's written in history that was me, and I'd like to believe I could get historians to, I have information about someone written in history that is baffling to them, and I have a lot of this background information about that person and things that relate to historical law at the time and religion at the time, and so that's the kind of fun stuff. And I have, yeah, this excessive, as in I know my past lives, the last ones I
Yeah.
just had, the last four, and pieces of a whole bunch going back thousands of years, and it's really wacky, but it's largely because I saw my past life on alien craft, and so it kind of ended up, being a seed, if you will, of that awareness.
Okay.
Um,
So when you say that real quick, because my
yeah,
first experience, right? I remember I could see myself on the
yeah,
table. I was above and I could see the five around me, but
yeah,
I could see myself. But then when I looked at them, I was looking through my eyes out. So it was like I had two different like perspectives on things. So I was always thought that might have been like my higher self, or I don't know. But when I looked at myself, that's how I could see it. And then, but looking out, I'd see them. So
Wait, so
it
were
was
you
really
unconscious
interesting.
on the table? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that was the
Yeah,
very first one. And I asked him
yeah,
why I had to be restrained, because I don't like to be restrained in
yeah,
any sort of way.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And well, you know, it's just a little uncomfortable. Like you're like, okay, what's going on here? And this is all new. And yeah,
Yeah.
so I said, and they said because of contamination. So that was the reasoning that they gave me for
Right,
having to have
right. Yeah.
restraints. But then now after that, that was the one and only time that I remember ever having that happen. I was when I went then graduated is what I say, and then went on with Paul Grace. I was able to move around freely, like around the
Right.
ship, and they
Yeah.
didn't seem to like know that, or you know, I didn't like I wasn't out of place. You know, I would think like I was kind of like, you know, are they gonna yell at me? Like, can I really
Right.
move
Yeah. They don't even. Yeah.
around? You know?
Yeah. No one cared when they did it with me. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it was just like, yeah, you know, go ahead, you know. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah. Go
remember
ahead.
looking down a hallway, and there's like a triangular, and it just like you described now, like the LED lights, like, and then at the end
Right.
I could see what I thought was a med bay, maybe by the way that they had like their, I mean, I like to say shirts, but I don't really think that they are. They they're clothed in some way, but they're color
Yeah.
coded. So I figured that was
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
most likely like a med bay is what I kind of came to terms with.
Right.
And then when
Yeah.
I would
I
ask,
blue and white. Yeah.
oh, okay, so yeah. So, but then I'd ask him things. I'm like,
Oh, I think you froze there, Coley. I think you froze. Hey there, Coley. You
I'm
froze.
here. Oh,
Okay.
here.
There we go. I can hear you. Yeah.
Always,
Okay. There you're back.
always when you go to talk about some things like this is when
Right.
that
Right.
happens. It's very
Yeah.
odd.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Very
yeah, I guess
interesting timing.
getting a too short, like a long story short, is that they go and they're able to re-experience that piece of time, and then it's,
Yeah.
you know, right then and there I could see everything happening around, but it didn't affect it, didn't
Yeah.
change it, it didn't
Yeah.
affect that
Definitely.
outcome. So that was very important that they wanted
Yeah.
to know.
Yeah. So
So
yeah, you definitely can like remote. I think remote viewing is a good word for this.
mhm.
But like everything is consciousness, and you can literally place yourself in any perspective of the field. And so, yeah, whether you're actually looking at a past event of your own or a present event, you literally can pop yourself out and turn around and look at things. And yeah, I've considerable experience with it when it comes to loved ones, and then people I'm in relationships with or talking with or contacting with. Like I can feel my friends texting me, and then they text me, and I can feel my friends calling me, and then they call me, and I don't really use these abilities in any other way. They're just like a natural thing, and they took over time. But the more the memories came out, the more a lot of it all kind of came to the forefront. There were things that had happened to me leading up to that. So I had experiences where I was able to communicate with people who had passed on. And that seems reminiscent of what happened in my alien contact because I saw the afterlife. So I seem to have this ability. And as soon as the rising happened, this event in 1997, pretty much anyone who had passed on, who I was close with, I actually was able to communicate before they, left and go into the higher dimensions. And that happened. That started to be a normal part of my experience. But I was shy about it, and I didn't know a lot of people who could have these abilities, so I wasn't talking about it too much. And then it really kind of ramped up. So yeah, the ability to talk with people who've passed on, and also ghosts. So then I went public. I had a video on my YouTube channel where I helped a ghost transition. So I was able to, I move around from facility to facility in my job, and I was at a haunted location. I didn't think of it quite like that until everyone else was like, yeah, there's a weird thing here, and I could feel it. I didn't know what I was experiencing, and they warned me downstairs is there's something down there. And so I went down there and I could feel it, and then I had a whole experience with it, and then it followed me back, and I was able to communicate with it. And then I had a whole process where it was communicating with me, and it knew I could hear it, and then and I helped it transition, and it was really wild. And then there was a synchronicity that showed me that the thing had transitioned with someone who went down there a couple of days later with me.
So you do
And
have that gift. You do have the
yeah, yeah.
catholic.
So I
Okay.
don't, yeah, I don't toss this stuff around, right? I don't. I'm not a professional about it. I don't. I just, this is just the ability. It's just the as I say, it's the physics. This is the physics of consciousness. Yeah, you can just do these things, right? Everyone can. I think we have been exercised in our consciousness to open up those doorways, if you, per se. And so, yeah, I can definitely pick things up, and I definitely can read things, and I definitely can hear people talking about my book. I can hear people reading my book. I can feel their thoughts about my book. I can, yeah,
Isn't
it's
that
like, it's
crazy?
actually a bit nuts. And my guru actually gave me techniques to help, protect myself. And I think that's a really big part of it too, is learning to protect yourself.
Oh
And
yeah,
so you're in control of these abilities. And
some of
so I don't
it.
do,
It
yeah,
can
I
get
don't do too
overwhelming.
much. That's why I don't talk about it too much. It's just overwhelming. I don't have a need for it. It's just a part of my normal experience. And then I'm not really, I'm not a professional medium. I'm not going out there trying to
Oh
do
yeah,
that for people,
I
right?
don't
So
either. I was like,
yeah,
but it's so crazy because I like in talking to Dolly, she's the same way.
yeah,
And I said,
yeah,
I don't like especially the channeler. I don't like that term, but that's a medium channeler, like what goes on with it. But I've seen them since I was a kid, so
right,
it
yeah,
started that way.
yeah,
And I just, the connection. Everybody's like, well, where do the paranormal and ET, where's that point of intersection?
yeah,
Is there one? Are they parallel? Are they different? Are they the same? What are your
yeah.
thoughts on that?
They're coming from, okay. They operate in that realm. So
Mhm.
there's our own ghosts because they're corporal forms that existed in our realm, and yeah, they transition over, and then now they don't leave, and they stick around because they have their emotional attachments, and so that's it. They're here, and as far as I'm aware, that thing can be staying hundreds of years if it wants to, as a ghost in its form. And also, it might be able to just be an offshoot of the higher self. Well, the higher self does create other things and still makes other bodies. So it's like, okay, you sit there and figure yourself out, ethereal ghost, and for hundreds of years until you do. And then the aliens, the entities, um, they're obviously higher, I guess, higher vibrational versions of ghost, but they're higher vibrational entities. And then that ghost realm is very easily something that they're in. And they obviously can remove their bodies, and they can just exist in that
Mhm.
space. And then they can utilize space time the same way a ghost can. So all those physics that the ghost can do. I have a video on it because I was really fascinated by those crossovers.
Oh wow.
And like observation is a good one. Ghosts know exactly when you're looking
Hmm.
at them,
Oh
right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
do UFOs, right? Very interesting.
Oh yeah.
They have they have an ability to distort sounds. There's tons of ghost
Mhm.
sightings where the ghost is making noises and there's nothing. People aren't visibly seeing anything. So that's a very normal one. Dishes are breaking and you come downstairs and there's no dish breaking, or there's no broken dish, right? And that's a very
Right.
normal ghost thing where they're able to, manipulate sound. And aliens, 100%. We have, I found them in the UFO databases that matched my own, where sounds are replicated and they aren't. There's nothing visible you're looking at.
Right.
So yeah, they have this kind of weird ability to kind of warp things in the exact same way, and it's because they're in that dimension, they're in that space, this thinner ethereal realm. I'm actually convinced their crafts are there too, and they can put their crafts there. And
Oh
I'm
yeah.
also convinced that the realm they're coming from is a kind of a shared Earth, some other Earth, and then they're crossing over in that thinner dimension first. So they're able to be here. They're able to be in their realm,
Oh.
transfer
Okay.
over into the ghost realm, and now they're operating in the ghost realm here. And they can materialize and then dematerialize as they choose to. And they can use their
So
crafts. They don't have to use their crafts. They can kind of do whatever the hell they want. Yeah,
have you ever
it's my
gotten the feeling like I don't know, like I've seen them in some of the crafts are huge, like, but then
yes.
there's the ones, like I call them the night danglers, maybe, and they're
Night danglers.
encapsulated. It's so crazy because unless you were
Frozen. I think you're frozen again. Um,
that
Night danglers.
here,
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
hearing you again. Yeah, there you are. There. Okay, you're
can you
back.
hear me? Okay, I
Yeah, I can hear you.
apologize. Every time I go to talk about something a little sensitive, sometimes this happens.
Yeah, something. Yeah,
So I
yeah,
know, get right in there. But yeah, no, it really seems like some of them are biological. Like I've seen them change and shift, and like I
yeah,
almost feel like that is what I'm looking at. And then there's the other ones that are clearly craft, and
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's really fascinating. I this is why I just lean towards reality creators. I literally have seen objects shapeshift in front of my face. I've literally seen
Yeah.
her materialize matter in front of my face and then dematerialize it. And I don't mean in a contact event when I'm in their dimension. I mean here, and they're interacting with me as you know, as the orbs and the things around me, and then I'm talking to her, and I'm actually saying, as you were talking, we get excited. I was actually excited, and I'm saying, I love it when you show yourself to me. And then, this angel hair plasma, you know, mucus plasma angel hair stuff literally manifests in front of my face, probably 10 feet away from me. I'm looking over a balcony, and it manifests up, and it goes upwards, defying gravity, and then it spreads out and thins out, and it disappears, and it's gone completely. And it's thick, and it was large, like 10 feet wide type thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
she's like, I don't really even know what she's doing. What is she just materializing it? Is it her body? Like, I don't really know. And she's able to manipulate matter with it. I don't have the answer to exactly what's going on. And I've also seen, when I've seen some of the craft at nighttime, and I filmed it, and I've got it on film, and I'll be releasing that film shortly on my YouTube channel. It's on my Facebook page though right now, and watching a craft, and I'm filming it, and then there was a meteor behind her. It wasn't caught on camera, but then she was also doing these sparkles in the stars. There weren't even star sparkles. They were just all of a sudden flashes of light. Boom, just and I zeroed in on the camera, and it's like just something opens up and closes. It's like a strange look. And this is reality creator. This is the realm of the paranormal. This is what ghosts seem to be able to do too. Ghosts can, I guess they're using their mind powers. I'm not really clear exactly how it's materializing, but these
Yeah.
two things match the way that ghosts can do this type of stuff. Ghosts can, I've seen, you know, a story of a ghost in Hawaii. It was a security guard, and I think it was the university, and it was haunted. And he came around the corner, and all the blinds are slapping against the door of a
Oh
big
wow.
house. So what is the ghost doing? Is the ghost literally on all fours? You know what I
Right.
mean?
Like
Like, what is the ghost
yeah.
doing here? Like, or is it using a mind power and it's able to do this? Because the entities can do the same thing. They're able to use a mind power that seems to be able to, they don't have to be in the vicinity. They can just make a blip over there and make something materialize over here. And yeah, it's very fascinating. I don't have the physics nor understanding of it exactly, but there is a crossover with those abilities and those powers and the way that dimension is manifesting in our space, whether it's a ghost or whether it's an alien. Yeah.
When you broke it down like that, it made more it made more sense to me, and I've pondered this for hours, and I ask everybody
Yeah.
too. I'm like, where do you think? But that right there is definitely. So, do you think that the paranormal, like when they come and we recognize them, a lot of times when they come, they'll show me like how they died. They'll show what they,
Hmm.
so I recognize them. Sometimes they're younger. Sometimes they're, they don't usually come in like, it really depends.
Do you mean paranormal entities? So people who are
Yeah,
invisible
yeah,
who
like
we've
people
passed
that
on?
were
Yeah.
once in our world and then they've
Yeah.
crossed over. Do you think it's like a waiting period for them, or do you think that they're like I know what you're saying too, because there's that like residual, like we're imprints. Like I've been at places before and ladies like they don't even bother you at all. They continue. This is their
Yeah.
daily routine where they're gonna
Yeah.
walk through and pound and make whatever happen.
Right.
And then there's
Right.
those actual ones where like the dishes will fly, or
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah. They're
stuff is
interacting
like
in an emotional way with the individuals in the environment. Yeah.
very good way of putting it. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So I'm convinced that, yeah, so there's, I think, multiple things that happen here, but I think first and foremost, how much someone used their higher self in the life that they have, I think answers what they do at the point of death.
Hmm.
And I think that anybody who lived with love or kindness or happiness,
Yeah.
when they pass on, they feel the natural inclination to move up. And when they move up, they can still come down. It's just difficult for them. And it's just, you're dealing with vibratory rates, and they can come down and they can still interact, and they will be easier to interact with people who are in love with them and love them still, like a father to a child, that kind of thing. So the father can
Oh,
still interact with the child even though they passed on years later, right? And they can come through dreams, and I know that that's happened. And so I think there's a connection there, and love is the key. And then you have the people who didn't believe in love, or who had emotional traumas, or maybe they just live
that's right.
denser lives, and then they pass on, and they can literally just make a choice, right? No, I don't want to do that. I want to stay here because this is what I'm attached to. And so they stay in the environment and they're attached to it. and it could be attached for multiple reasons. And then, so I actually have, I've had my own experiences that are bonkers, and I'm big on protecting myself because I know these entities can actually follow you home, and they can come with you, and they can be
Oh
in your
yeah.
dreams and stuff.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Get
I'm really, really big on
it.
protecting myself, and I have my whole practices that do that, and I feel very good at it, protecting myself. So I've been able to look in and, or, listen or hear, see, if you will, and then be like, okay, I'm not interested anymore because I don't want that thing interacting with me. And I don't care to learn its history either. I don't want to know about the death
Right.
that it suffered, right? It's not interesting to me, and it'll be
Yeah.
heavy and it'll be awful and it won't feel good. And
So true.
yeah, so that's the gist of it. I don't really, but I'm aware that, yeah, that's a choice that they're making to stay here in the physical realm, and then they can just stay for hundreds of years. I'm literally convinced that, from some of my own experiences, that ethereal entities, you have your favorite ghost, but
Hmm.
your haunted house that's maybe across down the street, and there's an entity that lives there, and
Yeah.
it doesn't just live there. It goes at nighttime into the forests, in some of the deep forests, and they all congregate. And ghosts from all over the place, they're social and they still live out their lives, and then they go back to their favorite homes that they like to, that are peaceful for them, because they provide some type of vibration for them. And so that's what I'm convinced happens. They're still very conscious, those lower entities. They're just in their emotional state, and they don't want to let it go. And so they can just do whatever they do, and they can stay there as long as they desire, until they choose not to. Yeah.
That's interesting because I think that kind of like mimics a little bit what happens here too on Earth. Like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
change, a lot of times it's easier to stay stuck in that, like, that
That's
realm.
it.
And,
Yeah.
it's like that. I don't know if it's a shame piece. I don't know if it's a comfortability, if it's a formality. Like, you
Yeah.
never know what somebody's reasons are. But I guess when the
Yeah.
time's right, or maybe they're waiting for somebody. I don't know. It
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
it's sad, but I have two. I've helped them cross over. My tactics on haunted houses aren't for everybody. So I've literally legit been kicked out of a couple ghost hunting groups for.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
great.
yeah, yeah. No, I guess
You
see they get a little, but I want to go in there and I don't want to wait like 8 hours for like an EVP to go off. So I
right,
always,
right.
rule number one is bring roller skates because I'm really good at roller skates. And then I go down and I'm like hitting every door, like, boom, time to get up, time to get up. Your
Oh, you're
money's
making a
going to be
lot of
coming.
noise, eh? Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then when they,
They
they think
must.
if you're going to rifle through their things, they kind
Yeah, they
of
must
get
not
something
like that.
going.
That's what it is, right? And so you're
Yeah.
happy to disturb
Yeah.
them. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So when they're disturbed, they start manifesting things. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. So then you're able
Yeah.
to like maybe like calm them down and get a little, let's like, because usually it's like, go, get out, leave. It's like, no, I'm not doing that either. But
Yeah. Yeah.
like let's have something. And there's always like, oh, it's so crazy. Like there's underneath it all, like the Edinburgh Manor is one of my favorite places to go. I've been there like 10 times. And
What?
when you go there, there's always and I've picked it up for my EVP, and like I have like a extensive one that's like a speaker that they call the portal, or it was Stephen Huff's. Anyway, so you can get sentences. So there's always a lady that
Wow.
is
Good.
speaking French, and with the two
Yeah.
children in the front room, and then there's always a 3 o'clock one that down the hall in one of the rooms. And I've actually seen on first time I went on a tour just to check it out, and some lady's just screaming, and someone quickly turns their cell phone on or a light on, and you can see her pant leg like coming up and go down. I was like, this is the
Whoa.
place for me. So
Yeah. Yeah.
how do I sign up to spend the night? And I'll sit in there. It doesn't bother me at all.
Right.
But nobody else,
Yeah.
they're like, we're not going down there. We're not. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I have no fear
I
of that.
did. The place that was haunted, I went by myself. I filmed it. That's what I did. I went down and filmed
Oh
it.
yeah,
Yeah, and
awesome.
I was
Yeah.
by myself, and I went all to the dark. I went to all corners, and
Yeah.
I felt it once I was down there, and I was talking about it on the camera, and then it did a weird thing where it turned a light on. So I turned the light on. Checked out a room. It made a noise. The room made a noise as soon as I walked in. It was all dark, and it went something made some noise. I was like, turn the light on, scanning around. Okay, close the door, turn the light off. I go upstairs with my friend. I'm like, hey, check this out. I got this on camera. We both go back down, and the light got turned back on. So, and I was like on camera turning it off. So I'm like, wait a minute, something turned the light back on. And that was the kind of confirmation that something was down there for me at the time. And, but you're right. I did it all myself. It's actually,
It's fun.
I think we have a draw to it too, because it really is, I guess, like the veil. I guess that people call it, right? We can kind of
Right.
feel like they're bleeding through a little bit, so then we get drawn to want to be, check out their space a little bit. Hey, let
Or
me see what you're
violate it.
doing.
Yeah, I know. You're like,
Violate it a little bit. Yeah, they don't
what do
like
you
it.
got in your drawers here?
Yeah,
Yeah, like
it's
they're
kind of like that,
pissed.
and
Like,
it's funny you do that with a sound, because I also had a thing with sound as well too, where they don't like sound. I'm actually convinced now from all my research that when we, clapping even, I think the
oh,
vibrations are bigger in the ethereal realm, in the
like
ghost realm.
amplified, maybe.
Yeah,
Okay.
amplified, and that's why they do attics. They're always in attics. They're always in dark corners, and because that's where it's quiet, and
Mm.
that's why the witching hour is real, because it's quiet. And so the quiet is actually a really big deal, and they get really disturbed by noise. So when we did the EVP, we did an EVP thing, and we had static running, and I was asking questions, and then I didn't hear anything in the moment, and when I went and listened back in the EVP
Mm.
and my audio, there were pops after "Did anybody die here?" And there were like pop sounds in the audio, and I thought, huh? And I went and analyzed the actual audio clipping, and there was pauses. So something, it was an iPhone, so nothing. My iPhone's never done that in its life, and
Yeah.
something had paused, had interfered with the electronics of my phone to pause the sound wave. It was a really weird thing. And then as soon as
Oh yeah.
as soon as the EVP got turned off, and I was still recording, again there were all these pops, and I couldn't help but feel that it had pissed off the ghost, and it was yelling.
Probably.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was like in the other realm, being like, "Just turn off that goddamn thing," or "Thank God you turned it off," and it was like yelling at us, and it was like pissed off that we had the static blowing in its space, right? It's
Oh,
like,
it's horrible too. That's
yeah,
why I
it's
think
horrible.
I
Yeah, and
try
it's just
anything.
static. Yeah,
Yeah.
poor
Shut the
ghost.
white noise off. We can't
Yeah, it
take
was
it.
pissed off at
Yeah.
us. Yeah,
I can see that. That's awesome though. But you know what? When you're saying this and explaining this, it's like I'm making connections with it. Like, yeah, no,
yeah,
that hey, yeah, why are they hiding in the, the dark corners
yeah,
or in their
yeah,
areas? Like, yeah,
yeah. And they're in
definitely.
their own vibes. Yeah, they're hypersensitive to sounds, and it's also why you don't have, middle of streets haunted, right? You don't.
Right, right,
There's never
right,
a haunting in in a intersection. You never have a haunting, in a busy road. You never have a haunting in a club with tons of people, and people can all watch a
right,
ghost display things, right? Yeah, it's
right,
always,
right.
there's very private, very isolated, very dark, very quiet, yeah, locations. Yeah.
Oh, definitely, definitely. Oh, that's so fascinating. That really
Yeah,
is.
it
I
is.
it,
It actually, it answers the alien stuff, right? That those are big parts, right? Because those
right.
crossovers are very fascinating. And I don't know that the aliens are sensitive to noise that way, but the idea that they might be picking up, frequencies or realms or information in a different way in their realm as they interact with us
Mhm.
answers, I
Or maybe
think,
they have a filtration system because they do. I
maybe.
mean, obviously, like you
Yeah,
don't have to say a word. You're just prefrontal cortex, and you're able to communicate. I
yeah,
remember one time I was out. It was one of the strangest ones I've had. There was the night creeper. He was coming down, and then there was like I'd say there had to have been like close to 100 of what I call the light balls or the night danglers, but they were so encapsulated. And so, but then I look over and I'm in this parking lot area, and if you weren't outside that parking lot area, the way that they had, like I said, encapsulated that light, there's no way you could even see it. So I look
yeah.
over and there's like maybe 3 feet, I would say. There was like a red one and I believe a blue one. And
Hmm.
then I said, remember, like saying out loud, wow, there are a lot of you. And it echoed 3 times. It was like, whoosh, like I was in an amphitheater. And I
Hmm.
was like, oh, okay, okay,
Whoa,
that's strange. Yeah. So,
whoa.
and then I went in. I remember running in. My house is like, hey, to my friend, I was like, you got to stand by the window and watch and make sure I don't go anywhere. Don't ask me any questions because I got to go. Okay. I got a window of opportunity here. Just make sure I don't go anywhere. And then, like, we're just make sure, okay? You'll know if if you need it, and I don't even know who the hell you'd call, but just make sure I don't go anywhere. So I ran back outside, and I waited as long as I could, but I thought I was gonna be dust if that thing got any closer. The night
Right.
creeper, and he's just slowly coming. Then the other ones were playful, like in the trees. I could see
Yeah,
them, and I almost felt like
yeah.
they were childlike. And I'm like, man, I'm out here, and They started to taper off because there were so many. I believe over like the week and a half. My neighbor, Sarah, who I got really into it, she's like the night watchman. She'd call her and I'd be like, no, don't tell me, draw a picture and then we'll compare. And,
Nice.
we kind of did that thing. Yeah. So she was really, really interested in it. So we would go and I'm just like, it took it. And you could see how they kind of just started dwindling off, where they
Right.
would just kind of pop. Yeah. But there was one point, both of us hit the ground on the pavement because we were like, there was like 5 of them coming across and there was really no sound at all, but they were
That's
definitely
awesome.
crafts. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we're like down on the ground and she's like, what's going on? And I was
Oh,
like,
that's great.
I don't know, Sarah. I don't know, but we'll be okay.
Yeah, different
Okay.
behaviors. That's my most fascinating is that the elder has been a physical object in my life since roughly 2019,
Oh,
and the
wow.
behaviors have been just fascinating to me. The different ways she switches up, what she does do, what she doesn't do. It's only recently have I figured out that she's never around in the rain. I wonder what that's all about. But and I just try to record this information as much as possible. So when one day people take me really seriously, they'll want to know all the tiny details, and I like to believe I've recorded a lot of them. So,
Well,
but
your time is coming very shortly.
yeah, I
According
think it
to
is.
my
Yeah,
sources, they say that as soon as whoever comes out, not that I particularly care if our government does acknowledge it or not, but
right,
once
right.
that happens, we move into what they call the post disclosure. And I was told that they're not interested anymore in like so much of the military, that they're coming for the civilians, which I'm
Yeah.
not sure exactly how I feel about that either. But
Who's
yeah,
they? They're coming for the civilians. Who's they? What do you mean
yeah,
they?
well, that's what according to Stephen
Bassett, eh?
Bassett,
Yeah, yeah.
and then he said that the government's list, like I guess there's like 3 or 4 of them.
Oh,
You
I
could try
see.
and
The
locate
government
it, but
themselves would be interested. That's
yes, yes,
I've
it
been
is.
wanting that. It's in the front of my book that I like. I feel like I should be like Jodie Foster, like Jodie Foster in Contact
Yeah.
when she has to sit in front of the Senate and explain her stuff. That's what I need. I think we all need that. We all need to be taken seriously, and by a body who says, okay, let's just listen to this person and take it seriously that this person had alien contact. What were they telling you? And tell us all about it and what did you learn, and be taken seriously by a body like this is because even MUFON buries everything,
Oh
and
yeah,
you can,
yeah.
it's
Oh, I
like
know.
this is ridiculous how what's going on right now. You can't.
Well, you know what? The thing of it is MUFON takes it. They're part of the DoD and their new Arrow program. They always have been. I caught it even back when I made my first reporting. And so
Interesting.
I
Yeah.
told Dave, I was like, I was like, the only way I'm going to continue to talk to you is if this goes into an anonymous. So he had a blank file on his
Mm,
desk, and that's where I would communicate with him. And I tell him, as long as you can't back in this to the government, because I don't want to do the job of the government. I have
right.
no intention of ever like wanting to stand where you do, but you will have that opportunity. And I would
Right.
definitely throw that out there, and I'll hand that off because I think there are people that really do want to go and they do want to approach Congress and they do want to, be
Yeah.
a part of this change making because we're writing history right now. Jeff, you're in
Yeah.
history, you know?
The big parts. I think that people need to know that this can happen. Like you need to
Mhm.
know that. Um, I feel embedded with it. I feel pretty embedded that people need to know that the aliens are in the afterlife. They need to know that this can happen to someone, that the aliens can choose individuals, give them some type of like enlightenment experience. And so saying that anyone in history who has gone down as like, some kind of sage, we don't know anything anymore. It could have been, NHI involvement. And just also the stuff they told me about, some of the hybrids and the future stuff, I think is very pertinent for people to be knowing. And, so yeah, all you're left with is like social media. Which is really, it's kind of there's times where I'm like, oh, about it, because it's requiring you making a sexy post is what draws people to your content. Otherwise, I kind of just wish it was given to some kind of body and then I could kind of like be released from it. But not that I want to be released from it, but I want to. Not that I feel the pressure to make good posts on Facebook or on Reddit or something. That's the
Right.
only way to like get my information out there. It's kind of wild that that's the reality, but yeah.
It's so crazy though. It really is because I said that I try like. And I don't censor. That's one thing. I've never signed an NDA. And anytime, like I was on Spaced Out Radio, UFO Man, I've been on countless other podcasts, but I don't. I went off on my own because I
Right.
believe that I was censored in a way, even though I didn't sign their little NDAs. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying this like they're little, but I didn't sign a non-disclosure agreement. So I'm fully able to talk, and I want people to be fully able to talk and tell their stories.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I won't. I'll take the hit on it. I've had YouTube
Yeah.
shut down multiple times. Like I don't. That's
Yeah.
not what's
Yeah.
important to me. It's
Yeah.
important that truth, like you're telling, and
Yeah.
that comes out because so many other people are going to hear this and they're going to be like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, they make this connection, they make that connection. We're not
Yeah.
supposed to be
Yeah.
here. We're not on an individual mission.
Yeah.
People would like to, like Greer's kind of separated himself. Well, that's going to be his downfall, in my opinion, because I am one of those people. I'm like, we need to connect. And we
Yeah.
are so
Yeah.
strong if we connect in numbers. And that, like,
Yeah.
if I've been around I always say one of my own kind, like, I know the intensity of it. So, can you imagine if we just, like, really just got together and, like, just, you know,
Yeah.
experiencers alone? I think
I
there's
know.
so much more to this.
It's really wild to me that presently there's no coalition of contactees or coalition of experiencers. And there's a really weird, now I've analyzed this quite a bit, and there is a weird truth going on here. And I can't
Hmm.
make sense of it a little bit. Though I'm trying to, but a lot of contactees can't get on the same page.
Oh.
And that's a really weird game too. Yeah, like what is
Ah,
going on here
I know.
when some of us are very public and we're all saying slightly different things, or like I'm like kind of like not making sense of of the fracturedness of it all, and that
Mhm.
has me having some other theories about really what's going on,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Who's who and who's pretending to be who,
there's
right?
that. There's who's who. There is
Uh-huh.
pretending. I believe there's some of that,
Oh, yeah.
and but the aliens themselves might be doing some things that might answer what I think is really going on, and what the big reason there's no disclosure still to this point, because it's such a weird, if you're really coming from the top of all this and you
Yeah.
really look at what the general population thinks, which is, oh well, the aliens probably exist and we're probably going to meet with them one day and we'll probably have little restaurants and you'll walk in and there'll be an alien there,
Yeah.
and like you just live out your life and there'll be aliens a part of it now. Okay, I guess that's what's going to happen. And I don't think that's what's going to happen. And I think that there's a
Mm-mm.
whole bigger picture that is really, really hard to take. And then that would answer maybe why the aliens were maybe and it also, the picture of what this is scales up, including the birth and death life cycle, including the
Right.
purpose planets exist. It might answer why the aliens maybe, focused information then. And instead of looking at contactees as having different information, maybe the reality is contactees are, quote unquote, programmed to say and speak things a certain way that help get information, a certain type of angle of information out there.
That's
And I
interesting.
think that's what I'm starting to kind of rely on, is that, Chris Bledsoe, a good example. Look, I haven't read the guy's book, but it's pretty clear from the kind of the gist of the social media stuff what he's all about, and that would
Have you talked
explain.
to him?
I met him
I would love
personally.
to
Yeah,
put you in contact with him. He's great.
I met him
I would love.
personally. Yeah,
Oh, you
he
did?
was at
Okay,
yeah
cool.
he was at Contact in the Desert, and
Yeah.
we immediately it was like I bubbled up. And he saw me and we met. He pulled me aside immediately.
Ah,
We vibed right away. And I'm like, dude, I talk about God too. I'm like, I got this
yeah.
book and I talk
No.
about God also. He's like, oh my God. And we both like, ah. And it was this whole thing, and it was really
Oh, how
sweet. And then
cool.
we sat and chatted a couple times. Yeah, he's a really nice guy, and
Oh,
he's just
yeah.
down to earth about it all, right? And it's all real. And his whole God thing, I think, is, people aren't pointing this out or putting this together, but that would be the answer why the aliens are he's still able to film the aliens around him, right? Is because he has a certain type of message, and
Hmm.
it's focused, right? It's a focused amount of
Right.
information, and then that helps reality, helps our world, our reality. And I think that's the same with me. I have a certain type of information. I'm a focus. Susie Hansen, who I talk with, it's a certain type of focus. We have purposes, and I kind of think of it more as a
Yes.
subconscious thing, not as a
Yes.
logical information thing. And so Yeah, it's really
I
interesting
think so
how
too. Like, the whole I am. I'll be like, I am a warrior. Like, but
right.
like, I'm here for communication.
Yeah,
Like,
you
there's
keep saying I love
everybody's,
that. Yeah.
yeah, and that's like all that's like, stuck. So it's crazy. Like, my friends will be like, "Do you have to ask before we go in somewhere? Do you have to say it?" And I was like, hmm. So it's like the first thing I do when I go in. I'd be like, "Hey, has anybody ever had an experience with a UFO?" And
Nice.
they'd be like, my friends. Oh God, here she goes again. Why is it? But
Yeah.
I said, well, maybe I can figure a way out of this, okay? And then I don't have to go and ask for everywhere. But now everybody's so used to it, and they know.
Yeah,
But
it's
it's
getting
not an
bigger and
easy
bigger.
thing. Yeah, it is. It really
Yeah.
is.
Yeah,
It
it's
is.
fascinating.
I mean, I think, oh boy, I've seen like some of the pranks that they're playing, and they're like, oh, the ET, they're coming, and then everybody's like, freaking out behind that, thinking, okay, well, I was always rip that Band-Aid off. Like,
Right.
let's just get this done and over with. Why are we here and we're fighting among each other? And it's like,
Yeah.
over this thing that's so spectacular, and it's been here all along. And
Yeah.
I mean, I've talked to so many different people, like like Rick Doty, he'll say that, okay, well, one time we had like 7 here. Some of them, like maybe didn't eat our food, and they had like controlled environments for them to
Hmm.
kind of exist in our reality. Now that's CIA counterintelligence. You got to take it for what it's worth. There's always a nugget of truth in there. But
Huh.
I just wonder, and then Laura Eisenhower, she's great. Her great
Right.
grandfather was President
Yeah.
Eisenhower. I have
Yeah.
her
Yeah.
birth
I know.
certificate. I said I always ask for evidence when it comes to stuff like that. So yeah, she's totally
Right.
legit. She's great.
Right.
I
Right.
have her birth certificate, and I have a reference for. So people, you say that sometimes, and they come out with their certain people. It's like they can't handle hearing
Yeah.
that, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
as you see, I am uncensored. Like, if I'm
Right.
not giving
I
you
like it.
my opinion, I'm telling you,
Yeah.
like, these are what the documents say. And
Yeah.
whether we're
Yeah.
supposed to say Illuminati or dead or whatever and unalived,
Yeah.
I don't really care. Like,
Yeah.
to me, getting that truth out there and your truth out there it's not
Yeah.
like a politically correct statement. Nobody's going to attach or be able to like relate to that.
Yeah.
So I just
Yeah.
really appreciate people like you that can speak so raw, and
Yeah.
it's like that's
Awesome.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you
Coley.
for.
Well, thank you. And you giving a voice for this stuff is it's a risk, quote unquote, for yourself as well too, right? So yeah,
Oh,
and you
yes.
and this is the big thing that I keep saying that um I actually lean towards I was out as public for years before I even started thinking about government documentation around any of this content.
Sure.
And I stumbled upon someone on Reddit talking about John Keel, and John Keel had this document
Oh
in
yeah.
1967,
Yeah.
and it outlines quote unquote the alien agenda. And I was floored because it matches my contact events. Actually, some of the points, the
Oh
bullet points,
wow.
match word for word what the elder told me. I
Isn't that
couldn't
crazy?
stunned by it. Yeah, I've actually done several presentations on it now. But one of the keys that was in this post or in this document was that there would be leaders on the ground. So this whole thing wasn't never about aliens coming down, landing on the White House, saying, "Take me to your leader." This was always about contactees talking about it publicly. And there would be leaders on the ground, people who would actually start up and start talking about it. And I can't help but notice once I read that, I'm like, well, this is my experience because everyone who does a podcast about this, they're
Hmm.
contact. Every single podcast out there you can think of and look at. I mean, obviously not every single one, but a lot of them. And even someone who starts into this field who isn't a contactee ends up having a contact experience of some type. So
Oh
you're
yeah.
looking at the aliens very aware of public dialogue. And someone asked me, how should I want to be part of this, how I want the aliens to come to see me. I'm like, oh, start speaking publicly about it. I'm like, get a
Right.
podcast and they'll come. I'm telling you, I'm pretty certain they'll come. So it's very fascinating that this is the reality that you're a contactee, therefore you support this, you get more people talking about it. And so the aliens are very aware of this very public speaking thing going on. And that was the whole point of how it all transformed over, was that there would be people who have genetics, people who have experiences, leaders would be forming, groups would be forming, and it would be a slow transformation of this into the grander picture of the entities being on planet Earth. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I know that, like even Preston Dennett, he said he started off like with Dolly and looking into the experiencers, and he ended up having his own experience himself,
Yeah, that's
you
right.
know?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I just think that like when you come into this for a reason or whatever that reason is, you may not even know. And even Stephen Bassett, when he was talking about it, he said, even people who don't realize that they're contactees, because a lot of people don't have that
that's right.
realization.
Yeah,
And like, oh well,
yeah,
maybe I had a weird dream, or I had, like
yeah,
I've had the markings, I've had all like the whole 9 yards. So
right.
it's a little bit harder to deny that part of it.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, have
yeah.
you ever
And
had any of the markings like yourself, or any of like the
yeah, definitely. I'm actually convinced that they do that on purpose. If the person isn't really clear that they had contact, then that's what the aliens. I'm fully in belief they control's the wrong word, but they govern all that. They govern, Coley will, one day speak. So let's give her this type of experience. And then you end up feeling great about it and you end up knowing about it. And the person who they
right?
don't really want to know about, like I think these things all happen on purpose. The degree with which people are aware and aren't aware of these things.
Oh,
Um,
I'm with you
yeah.
too. I don't think there's any
Um,
coincidences in this. None.
so the markings, yeah. So I actually had my last physical contact event happened in 2017 before I was aware I was having contact. And I had gone. So the aliens gave me a download in the contact events, and it hadn't come out yet, and it was this book. So I don't talk about this too much because it's still
Oh,
part of the wackiness of my story, and I'm still trying to figure out what to do with this book. But it's very powerful. It's a very spiritual book. I've gotten it all out now. But the bottom line is that they uploaded this thing into me in my 16th contact event, and it almost like they stored it there. And then during 2017, June 13th, because me and my wife went and saw a movie. We actually went and saw Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman,
oh,
when it
okay.
first came out, yeah. And you
Oh, you
got
have no
that,
idea. Okay, that's
yeah,
great. Keep going.
and you get that real fight for the good. The
Mm-hmm.
fight, the kind of that's what the superhero movies are really good. They have the fight for good. You got to fight for what's right in this world, and she's got this conviction, and you walk out empowered, like, oh, you got to fight. And I was inspired, and I came home, and I was already thinking about, I want to do these kind of meditation classes. I'm trying to figure out this stuff. And I'd only been recently delving into the Rising, this consciousness event that happened in 1997. So I thought, well, I'm going to try and see right now if I can get anything out of me about this Rising. And what came out, what felt like it came from somewhere else. I never had an experience like that. You could call it a quote unquote channel. Now, it wasn't complete, but it's something I felt like I was touching something, like something was structured. And I couldn't quite
Okay.
wrap my head around it. And I was writing and writing and writing. I made all these notes. And then I went to bed. And I went to bed at 1. My wife went to bed at 3. We had to be up at 6 because she was taking a flight. And I woke up at 6 and the alarm went off, and I was in the exact same position I had fallen asleep in. I didn't remember my wife getting in, so I was just awake. And I had rolled on my back, and I could feel like kind of stinging, but I didn't know what it was. Put a shirt on, kind of feel stinging, didn't understand it.
Yeah.
Drove her to the airport, could kind of feel stinging, but still wasn't that strong. Dropped her off, came back, went back to bed. It wasn't until the shower where it really stung. And I'm like, wow, what's going on? What is this? And then I eventually get out and I look, I think I take a picture. And my back has got these scratches, and they're like crisscross scratches, and they're all straight as a ruler, straight as an arrow, just perfectly straight scratches, and they're all crisscrossed all over, and they're highly visible. And I took a picture, and I was like, wife, what happened? Like, what is this?
Yeah.
Like, what is this? This happened last night. And of course, like, she doesn't know. And so she's like, were you cheating on me? I'm like some women. I'm like, why would why would I send you this if that was the
You're
case?
right.
It makes no sense. And we were both freaked out. Like, what did that? And
Well, yeah.
I couldn't help but notice it happened after doing this weird channeling thing. I didn't get the connection. And when I would unfold the contact event after having my memories, this was the last one. And yeah, I was actually drawing on this download that they'd given me, but wasn't connecting it to them. And they didn't want that. They wanted my memories out, and they wanted me to can maybe acknowledge or understand that this was actually alien, and that maybe when I start talking about it or use it, it has to be for them or for their purpose. So they didn't
Right.
really like that I was drawing on it, and so they were, and there's a memory of the mantis doing it. The mantis is kind of scolding me,
Oh,
and
wow.
I've written the whole thing out. It's in my book, and bottom line is that I have a full memory of that contact event now. And yeah, I got taken right from the bed, and then I guess put back in the bed. And it wouldn't be until years later, once I have the memory of this event, and my wife was arguing with me. She's like, "There's no way. I was beside you the entire time. You didn't leave. I'd wake up." I'm like, "Yeah, but they have weird ways of doing these things." I'm like, she's
Oh,
like, "No,
yeah.
no, no. I would just wake up to it." And then I find there's a video out there. It's this couple in England. It's called the Worcestershire alien abduction video, something like
Uh-huh.
that. And the guys, it's the same argument me and my wife had. The guy saying, "No way, you're not being abducted. Trust me, I would wake up to it." And the wife is saying, "No, I'm being abducted. I'm telling you." So he's like, "I'm a security guy, so I'm going to put up a camera." And guess what happens? In the middle of the night, boff, she's actually just taken right from the bed and like just invisible. Like just boom, she's invisible and the bed flying. The covers just drop. So she's not levitated out. She's not waking
Oh,
up and getting up.
wow.
Aliens aren't coming into the room. She's literally just, that's the one we want, and the boom, and they just take her and the covers drop. And then it's
Wow.
like 14 minutes later, boom, she comes back in, and she's back in the covers, and then she's getting back in position, and then she sleeps again. And the husband was like right beside her the entire time. The husband's the one who brought it to a UFO group in England, and that's how it got uploaded. And no one's ever debunked it, and it matched what happened with me and my wife. I kind of like, this
Yeah,
can
to
happen.
relate to it. Yeah.
It,
Yeah. Oh,
it's a
yeah.
really weird chain of events, and the aliens, they can cover everything up, and when they don't want people to know, you don't know. So
You don't know. Yeah. I
yeah,
said we only see what they want us to see. And sometimes,
yeah,
I don't know if it's like and even though the paranormal, like I've asked questions and there's things that are censored where I think that we're not allowed to know. Maybe if I don't know if it would change the
right,
trajectory of things or why or how, but
yeah,
it really, there, yeah. And there has to be rules. I said there has to be rules to this game because, and I don't want to call it like a game, but the what's going on down here, and I mean, there's got to be just so much more to these like pieces to
yeah.
this that
And
we're just still uncovering.
I think that they're really sensitive to our comprehension, and I think that a lot of like so I have a guru, I have a Vedic guru who I've been with for 20 years,
Hmm.
and he's exactly the same. He doesn't tell me everything, and he
Oh yeah,
tells me as I'm ready to know things. So it's very interesting. And Jesus, you know, someone
yes.
I've read somewhere that you can tell the clarity of the scriptures by how little offshoots there are of the religion. And it's not like it's
Mm,
clear that Jesus didn't tell everything
right.
because there's so much confusion about what he was saying. So
Well,
he
yeah,
clearly
yeah, I get
he
that
clearly
for
knew
sure.
more. He didn't tell people, right? Same thing. He didn't explain how he was able to walk on water. He didn't explain anything, right? He didn't write a book down and say this is how you do these things, right? It's like
Right?
this
Yeah.
whole. Then there's all this mystery about it, and then you have all these sects that bring out Christianity and Christian and Luciferians, and it goes on and on and on, right? About all these virgins off the same book, right? Though everyone's just
Hmm.
interpreting it differently because his teachings weren't clear, because he wasn't clear, because he wasn't explaining everything. And same thing here. The aliens don't explain everything, and I agree with that. And here's an example of that. With me in my contact events, they told me they're from Zeta Reticuli, and
Okay.
I was aware in the contact event that the guy who wasn't this happened in 1998. I was in a library at the time, so before the contact event. Sorry, in
Hmm.
1998, went to a library, learning about the consciousness event, what happened to me. I found a book about gray aliens. And so I was reading it. It was like a channeled book, and I didn't know what to look at. So I was reading this book, and then it talks about gray aliens are from Zeta Reticuli. And so I was like retaining that information, trying to learn about it, trying to see if I could find it in the night sky. It turns out it's in the southern hemisphere. And then in the contact event, as if to tell me they know what I'm reading, she says, I'm going to be going somewhere. And I said, where are you going? And she said, to your Zeta Reticuli star system. So she's using what I picked up, telling me
Oh
I'm aware
wow.
what you're reading. And so she says, yeah, they're from Zeta Reticuli. And then they'll actually double down on that, triple down on that 3 different times throughout my contact events. Well, only now in the last couple years, specifically this year, they actually did some explaining of some other details. That they really explained to me that where they're from, and I'm convinced this to be more real than Zeta Reticuli,
Mm-hmm.
that they're from an actual parallel Earth planet. There's actually the Earth shares dimensions with other planets, with
Okay.
other planets. Like Earth actually has other dimensions, other astral planes, and then whole other things can be going on here that we can't see, and they're shared with us
I
in
believe
that.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
kind of shared. They're
definitely.
kind of actually maybe crypto-terrestrials is a better way to frame them. And so, but then the answer why they never told me that makes a lot of sense, because these are spacefaring entities. The
Mm-hmm.
comprehension level is better to frame it as a entity that comes from another planet, an alien coming from another space, using space and coming from another planet, than it is to say, oh well, we just come from another Earth, and then I wouldn't understand. They'd have to explain all that to me. They'd have to
Right.
explain what that is another astral plane, another time. They're actually the future's involved here, and another
Mm-hmm.
timeline. So there's all this complexity to it that my teenage brain could never wrap my head around. And so they didn't even, they almost purposely omitted the information and allowed me to believe something else. And that thing that I
Ah,
believed actually made more sense in the idea of dimensions and spirituality than starting to open up a door telling me that they're in fact from another Earth that I can't see. And that would have just been like more perplexing, and I actually would have been probably less stable with that. And I think that they also want me to be stable and with them.
oh yeah.
I don't know what they're talking about half the time, then I would be uncomfortable with them, right? But if they're just saying something basic, like, yeah, we're from another planet, we're Zeta Reticuli, then it closes that down for me. And I don't need any
Mm-hmm.
more of that information. And then they can just they can deal with what we just are talking about in the moment. And I can now
Right.
see why they would do these things. And it's not, for someone, they might be perceived as a deceiver, but eventually they tell me. So that's not a deceiver either. So it
This
just makes
might
sense.
not be the time, right?
Might not be the time, and there's a
Mm-hmm.
comprehension as a part of this, and they have to wait for us to get up to speed is really typically what I think now. Yeah.
I agree with you too, 100%. Is that there? And everybody's on a different. I see it too. Like my whole journey, and then I can tell if somebody's at the beginning, if they're more, how far
Yeah,
along
you
they're
said this
into it.
before. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's like
Yeah.
this urgency. And I try, just because I've been there too. Like I'm like, you guys just listen. You got to listen to this, but it
Yeah.
is. They come in with like an extreme sense of urgency because there's
Yeah.
so much there, and I think
Yeah.
that's like perfect. So you said that you do contact events, or you do. How do you do them in person, or do you do them online, or?
Do you mean
I'm
how
just
I contact my entity? Is that what you mean?
no, no, no. Do you do like in groups ever? Do you ever bring groups together and do
I
that?
did it once.
Like
Mm, yeah, yeah. See, I was part of a CE5, and
okay.
we did see something. Yeah, the CE5 at Contact in the Desert was very interesting, and we all saw something very bizarre, and that was lots of fun. But I never myself have ran any of these things. Largely, I'm just very grounded and real about it. My entity
Mhm.
interacts with me. I don't know
Yeah.
that my entity would interact with other people, and I have actually tried to see what my entity would do, and other people
Mhm.
have seen her. Other experiencers have interacted with her. Very interesting. Oh, even over my buddy Daniel and me have a whole dialogue where the elder is, I'm having a sighting in live in moment, and then the elder. So Daniel's an experiencer also of gray aliens, and so right before he texts, the elder goes black, and then bing. I'm like, first time I didn't recognize the
Oh,
synchronicity.
wow.
And then she turns back on, the lights go back on, and I'm ignoring his text. And then the second time she does it around, she comes back around again. And right like seconds before he texts again, she goes black, ding. And
Oh,
I was like,
wow.
wait, what's going on here? And then I was texting him. I think I do it all over voice on the moment. And then 20 minutes later, I'm not even texting him, and I'm thinking about him now. Like, hey, I wonder what he's thinking about. Maybe he's telling his girlfriend or something. And then she does it again. So I'm thinking about my friend Daniel, who's a contactee. So I have these kind of weird shared experiences that I
Yeah.
can share with certain people. But I haven't really upped the ante. I haven't because I don't really know her. I take it all very logically. She interacts with me. I don't know what else I can do. I don't know if I could pull. I don't know if that I'm supposed to either. I kind of just let them lead the scenario. So if I got a message to get a bunch of people together and we'll show
Mhm.
ourselves or something, maybe I would do that. But I let them take that lead about how I handle that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and listening to you and your experiences and what like you feel a lot to me like somebody that would be able to like, gather people together to show like you said like
Right.
okay, well if you're doing like putting yourself there, you're putting yourself in an area to be contacted. And not necessarily do I think everybody is meant for that or, I
Yeah.
think that there
Yeah.
can be some definite I don't know what I want to say like the wrong people getting the wrong people involved maybe or
Yeah.
the
Yeah. I
people that
know.
aren't being true. But
Yeah.
I have a couple events coming up, and I'd love to, and just different people, I'd love to get you like more involved. I feel like
Love it.
you really
Yeah.
have like, yeah, such a rock solid like, and you're, I mean, there's just more and more and more, and like the past lives going in. I remember mine too, and like why I have a hard time making decisions because I was so certain about something and I let it in, ended in mass
Right.
tragedy, like so that I carry
Right.
with, and so there's just all
Right.
these parts to it. I would love nothing more than to hear, So I'm after this, I'd love to put you in some groups and contacts with people because I think
Sure.
you're
Done.
definitely, yeah. I'm all about platforming the right people. Like I think
Yeah.
there is, and your story's been so moving to me, and I would love to too as it goes on. You know, love for you to come on and tell us story because you're saying,
Yeah.
there's this information. I've got pictures too. I'll have to share them with you, and a video
Love it.
where one came down on the road. I mean, like legitimately, this came down. We were chasing it for like 45 minutes. They came
Love it.
down on the road, and then shot off, and I was like, wow, like whoa,
Right.
he beat us at our own game. It was like,
Right.
yeah, and it was like too. So
Right.
it just like so much stuff. I also have like the experience. I've got lots of documents that maybe should not have whatever, but
Right. Right.
to the experiencers what they're looking for in the contactees in like the three, like the Roper poll, which was Robert Bigelow's, our governments, and the one that belonged to the Star team. So in it, the only question that I found that triggered a move on response was, have you been in close contact with a craft for a period of time? It doesn't say what that period of time was, but
Right.
I was told by the Star team member that that's almost an like a guaranteed indication that you have been abducted. If you want to use or contacted or removed from
Right.
your bed in the middle of the night in your pajamas, however you
Yeah.
want to word that. But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
You got it. Yeah.
so that's very very fascinating. And Fred Zhao, he's really big on finding. He's with MUFON, but he's really big on finding those points of contact and
Right.
where the abduction may have taken place. And people don't remember, of course, but it's like once you start to, and then I remember Dolly saying like how hard she tried just to stay conscious through her whole event. I here and there, and hey, I worked through it through the day. I'd be like, okay, now if you get taken, what do you smell? What's the temperature
Mm.
like? What's
Right.
because
Right.
there's so many similarities between just the contactees themselves. So
Mm.
I would love. I tried to get it going, and it was called the Experiencers Database. And you better believe with John Ramirez. Thank you very much. The CIA shut that
Yeah.
sucker down in a matter
Oh,
of
did
seconds.
he?
Oh
Really?
yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
I even had
Tell me,
somebody
how did that happen? Like,
really.
what? How did they know about it? Like, did you
Oh,
invite someone in and then they did that, or what's? How
yeah,
did
I'm
that
pretty sure
happen?
that's how it happened. I was on Twitter and I was really going. I had a group of
Interesting.
people. I had a guy, he said he's like, I can set this up. Like I said, I have all three of the surveys. I combined them into one, like had all of them. I mean,
Mm.
it's pretty extensive. So, then he can, then I had like where I met, and this guy's like, no, I can securely set this up. We're gonna, it's given like the government is going to have some act. You got to decide.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, but as long as we can, retain some anonymity for these people and they
Yeah.
don't have to have like, the stuff that goes on with that, like dead cats by the door, like I did, or memory card, just crazy
Right.
things happen. And
Yeah.
so I was trying to protect that. And then when I found that there was a couple of people at the core of the group that were actually his people, and they came
Interesting.
out and and then nobody wanted. We had the website set up for it. We had everything
Right.
about said for it, and then everybody got super spooked, and that's why I call the CIA the super spookers, because that's what, And I was mad. I was looking for him for a little bit, but he was at that time. I was with Spaced Out Radio, and Dave is like, "Oh, you're never gonna believe that's the party," and I was like, "Oh yeah, I can believe that.
Interesting.
Like,
That's
I can
crazy.
believe that 1000%." But they shut that down
Right.
so quick. And he's like, "We've got this
Right.
information," and I was like, "Well, then why have I been talking for the last week, setting up all these meetings and doing this, just to have a couple of you like completely just sabotage
Right.
it?" So I was like,
Right.
lesson learned. Be careful who you
Hmm.
trust.
It's hard. Yeah, it's hard doing this stuff publicly. And yeah,
Yeah,
there's so many blocks and so many roads and so many egos. And yeah, it's I've found it very hard to come together in any real solid way with groups. And yeah, pretty typically, someone out there is gung ho to do it, and then is up against a stark reality about how fractured actually the community is. I think the community itself is very fractured,
I agree.
and so it's very hard to bring everything together. Never mind that there's actually a force that may want to try and manipulate or may try and use it for their own benefit, and that force being, the GOV. So yeah,
Oh yeah, that
yeah,
grand old government of ours. And I said
mm,
that, this isn't even like this is so above all like I mean, but then I find in Iowa, I don't know, I'm reaching out to Joni Ernst because she's part of the disclosure according to Bassett. And then I saw where Elon Musk had donated a small amount to her campaign fund. So
mm,
I'm gonna try and track her down next to see what I can find
mm,
there in part of disclosure. But I do know that people like yourself, I hope that my spot will just remain here and I won't get hauled away to any government hearings or anything like that. I have no intention. But they said the first
right,
thing is
mm,
local people are going to start reaching out to you, and that I've had that happen like quite a few times. So I was like, okay, now the local people
yeah.
are getting
You,
involved. Like
you know why
yeah,
I think I would do that too. Also, is because they need us, because they actually need people who've had. The problem is that we long-term contactees, like lifetime
mm-hmm.
contactees, are very
Oh
valuable. And
yeah,
like what's happening right now is the greatest time in human history, without a doubt. And so there is a transition that's going to happen here, and just getting people involved in a very
oh
transparent
yeah.
way is actually what's required. But
And
yeah,
the fact that I've been told several times there's about a quarter of the UFOlogy people that are going to be eliminated and discredited, which is
mm,
going to create another. And I was always taught like that we do this because we get to decide who's platformed and we get to decide like who. So
right,
it's a very big responsibility. Like I don't just like
mm,
I go through and I like I watch stuff and I make sure like that this is but when I see somebody and I know and I connect the way that I do, like I would move mountains to get, it's smart too because you got somebody
yeah,
that you trust in there, and
yeah,
you
yeah,
like answers, and let's work together and find a way to do this because this, like you said, it is fractured. It's
yeah, yeah.
fractured beyond fractured. But to think
It's fractured.
that, yeah, I can't
Yeah,
stand when people think like they're a one man band and that they're going to do this
yeah,
and that they're
yeah.
going to come out and they are going to be the disclosure because that's not how it happens. That's not
Yeah, it
what.
doesn't. Yeah, it's in pieces, and it's
Mm.
the reality is the phenomena is too large for any individual anyway,
Oh
and
yeah,
yeah, we're all going to have pieces of it, and
yeah.
it
You don't
can't
want
be
this
contained
all
by an individual.
yourself. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
care at the end of the day.
yeah. It can't be
Whatever.
contained by an individual. It's too large.
Yes, and what I've noticed
Yeah,
too with AI is like all of the interviews that I had given in the past is all being like
yeah. You said
transcribed.
this. That's right.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes. So that's something to
yeah,
really be aware of, I think. But and that's why I love like sticking and plugging people through there. So like if you like are at a place, I would love to see you at the congressional hearings. I'm going to put your name down under where I think, because people,
Yeah,
regardless how crazy it is, I get
I would
asked
do it.
like things like this all the time. Yeah,
Yeah,
who do you think would be like who?
yeah, I would do
No,
it
I
totally.
definitely, I
Yeah,
will definitely put you on there. And I
I
would
love it.
love to hear like more. I know, I don't know what happened to StreamYard, but it like wiped off the music for the radio part. So, but I'll get that part
Oh, I
edited.
see. That's what that
I,
was. I loved
yeah,
rocking out to that. That was
yeah.
was that AI? Did the AI make that song for you? Because
No,
that was
well, I
really good.
write them. Well, I write the music, and then I put
You,
it, and then like
it's
put the
impressive.
AI like back. Yeah, so I was like, those are definitely. I've put a lot of
Those are your
time and effort in.
lyrics?
Yeah.
Oh, good job, Coley. That's fantastic.
Oh,
Yeah, I
thank
loved. I've
you.
actually
Yeah.
watched and rewatched that clip because the music is so upbeat. I just love it, man. I love when
Oh, I've got
I
some
love.
more too. I was gonna swing in there,
Yeah.
so I'm like, yes, and but for some reason they would not upload,
Oh,
and
I
that's
see.
why I hate to keep you on here for 2 hours straight. But you've been like a great trooper, a great trooper, and
Yeah,
I'd
that's
love
good.
to,
Love it.
I'd love to do this again. Like I would love to invite you back,
Love it,
and
Coley. Yeah, you got
yeah,
it. Totally.
let me know. Like like I don't want to overwhelm you, but I would really, really love to continue to tell your story and
Yeah,
that book. I'm so excited to get your book. But yeah,
yeah,
if you want a book to read, like Rising from Love is I mean, it is fascinating. The story of Jeff is fascinating. And I think so many people would be able to relate to this. And especially if you
yeah.
feel like, oh God, I just walked away from my career. I'm, this and that. Let me tell you, like you led the way. Like I can totally relate to that. And just to hear
Awesome,
that gives me like
awesome.
more
Yeah,
peace in my heart. Like, yeah, well, maybe this is, because everybody's like, you're crazy. Like you're crazy for doing this. And I thought, you're crazy for being in this little indoctrinated, like
yeah,
there's a whole nother reality out there that you have no clue even exists because you're just in this little safe,
yeah,
haven of yours. But
yeah,
that's I think every which way it's being shook. So
yeah.
I'd really like to, and like I said, I'd love to have you invite you back if we could do this, like even.
Done. Let's do it. Yeah,
Okay,
let's
let's
book
do
it.
it.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
got it.
yeah.
I'm all for it,
Okay,
Coley. Yeah.
great,
Oh, it's
great.
fun. It's
So,
great talking with you. So yeah, you're great. You're a
oh,
great
you
host too. Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
You're so nice. I really appreciate that. So yeah,
Yeah.
we'll get some time together. So everybody be looking forward. I know we're about 200 on Twitter that are watching. So the more get you out there and get you some views and reach out, tell people where they can find you and
Yeah.
about your book.
So okay, my name is Jeff Selver, JEFFSELVER, and that's where you can find my website. All my links are there. So I got my YouTube channel is there. My book is there as well too, which will link it to the Amazon page. And my book is The Rising and the Alien Plan to Build an Enlightened City on Earth, as they told me to write the book. And it's got all my 26 contact events laid out in chronological detail. I have Preston Dennett, who gave a write up on the back, says the book is amazing. Ian Howling, who works with Linda Moulton Howe. He's kind of an assistant to Linda, and he did a quote on the back as well too, talking about how
Oh,
amazing the story is. So that's really fascinating. That's really helpful, really beautiful, these things. And I also got a quote from Susie Hansen, who is a board member of ICER, International Community for Extraterrestrial Research. She did an author of Dual Soul Connection, did a write up for me as well too, endorsing the book.
oh, that's
So
amazing.
yeah, some definitely good pushes, and it's packed. It's jam packed. Think it blows people's minds, and I think that's this purpose, because they told me to write it. So it's 26 contact events with gray aliens told in pretty high quality detail.
Oh,
And
amazing.
yeah,
Yes.
that's it. Yeah,
Yes, yes, yes. So I'll make sure that I have your website listed. And so anybody who's looking for him, please, like, I'm going to go ahead and I'll put that in the comments and highlight that for you. And
that's great.
stay tuned. So we'll get something and we can, keep doing this and keep talking
Love it.
more about this. Yeah, your journey's amazing. And I want to thank you for what you're doing, the
Thanks,
contactees
Coley.
and the part
Yeah,
of disclosure. So thank you
yeah,
very much.
yeah. Thank
Yes.
you, Coley, for having me. Really appreciate it. Totally.
So any closing words? But I don't have to say goodbye. I can just say when I see you again shortly. Like, so.
Yeah. Closing words. Well, I have to say it every time. Uh, you are God. So that's what it all comes down to. The unified field is real. The soul field is real. We aren't just pieces of it. We are it. And I think that's what humanity has to kind of raise up into, is a state where we are all part of the unified field, and we are all together linked in this unity essence that is the one and the same. And God is real, the unified field is real, and we are it. So
that's amazing. Well, thank you. And thank you, everybody else from SNX Radio. So look for Jeff, because he's going to be around a lot more. So we're excited about that. And, as I always say, take the journey into the unknown. So if you anybody has any questions after this, please feel free that, just leave the comments, and I'll kind of be watchful of those, and then we can answer them next time. Or if you need, Jeff gave you his information. So that's great. So I hope everybody has a wonderful evening. And I've had an exciting conversation once again with Jeff. So I guess just say goodnight to all. There's usually theme music, and it will be here next time. But
next time it'll be here.
yeah. I tried, and
awesome.
I
It's
thought I
good.
had it too.
That
So
happens every now and then.
yeah.
So good. Yeah.
So just hold you out a little bit more on the theme music. But other than that, thank you so much again, and I appreciate
Awesome.
you and everybody listening. So I will see you soon. Take
Bye,
care,
everybody.
everybody. Bye.